Hello, good afternoon. My name is Gilad Berenstein, and I'm thrilled to be with you today. I hope you've had a wonderful first day of the AI Summit and that you've enjoyed so many of the innovations and speakers we've heard from so far. I'm grateful to be with you, and it is my goal to try to bring some of these things together, to talk about where we are today in the AI's evolution within our industry, and of course to share a few of the things I'm paying attention to as we look into the next few years. As I like to remind myself and all of us as an industry, us in the travel and hospitality space were not always laggards when it came to technology adoption. We were actually innovators and early adopters for a very long time. Just think about the GDSs and the fact that global inventory systems live across the world over 50 years ago, which was something that was truly innovative. So I want to start by thanking all of you for being here for my talk and being here for the summit in general, and most importantly, for engaging with these critical topics. Together, we are the rising tide that will bring our beloved industry into the future. So thank you for being here today, and thank you for engaging with these important topics. Now, in my talk today, I want to do three simple things. First, I want to talk about what agentic AI really is and how we should be thinking about it as an industry, and where we are in the rollout of the great commoditization of AI across the travel and hospitality space. Next, I want to talk specifically about AI in travel and hospitality and a few of the things that I'm paying attention to in this space. And finally, I'll close out with a few thoughts and some piece of advice for navigating the great commoditization of AI that we're all living through. All right, let's begin by focusing on AI and the coming agentic era. Ever since 2017, I have written and said a lot about the great commoditization of AI that was coming and has now arrived. My point was simple. Gen AI was coming, it had and still has a lot of promise, but the key point is that the great commoditization was not about Gen AI, computer vision, or any other specific tool or capability, but at its core, the great commoditization of AI is a process of integrating AI into every element of our world, lives, businesses, and economy. We have seen a lot of change over the last 3 years. And trust me when I tell you, we're still in chapter 1 of this story. So today, I want to zoom in just a bit and focus on the very near term of agentic era and the maturation of AI as we reach the end of year 3 since the public launch of ChatGPT, which kicked off this whole AI race. And I'll conclude with a few lessons that I've recently learned about the agentic era of AI. First, to get us all on the same page, there are 3 categories of artificial intelligence that we need to remember and to think about distinctly. They are artificial intelligence, which includes Gen AI, computer vision, and lots of other tools and capabilities. And you can simply think of these as tools for people and businesses. We have AGI, artificial general intelligence, which represents a very near future state of AI, where we deploy millions and eventually billions of AI bots or agents with capabilities at similar level to those of the average educated human adult. This will be our main focus today. And then of course we have ASI, artificial superintelligence, which represents a future state of AI, we're not that close, where the AI bots are more capable at nearly everything than the best, most educated humans in those fields. Now think about these 3 categories like this. AI, the tool, is here today. It brings an entire new set of capabilities to help you achieve your goal. Right now, you and your company should be testing and adopting these tools to further your business goals. It's that simple. AGI is near. AI agents or bots are already showing up and helping us achieve mass efficiency and increase productivity across the economy, while bringing additional knowledge and skill sets to our organizations. And ASI is not that close and is something we can frankly disregard at the moment. Another critical technology for the coming agentic era is the MCP server and the MCP standard. So to begin, what is an MCP? An MCP server is effectively a new kind of API. It is a back-end service that exposes tools, data resources, and prompts to AI systems via the MCP standard. It essentially acts like a bridge and an adapter between an AI agent and the external world, things like booking systems, proprietary data, and the like, leading us to a reality where AI assistants don't have to rely on memory, but can call actual info and data in real time, just like we expect our human travel advisors and agents to do as well. Now, why should we care about the MCP standard as an industry? And I think there's at least 2 reasons. First is that the MCP standard enables AI agents to access live data and external tools rather than only relying on static memory, meaning they can accomplish more tasks with increased accuracy. And the second reason is because it standardizes integrations, so we don't need custom connections for every single industry system that we want to pair with an AI agent. Said simply, it will supercharge the speed of innovation. Now, moving from some definitions to a timeline, I like to refer to this as the brief commercial history of AI. I think of the 2008 to 2022 era as the super early adopter and hard worker era of AI. This is the time that companies like Utrip had to build all the AI in-house before we arrived at the great commoditization of AI, which is why it was so much hard work to produce AI solutions. Next, in 2023, we enter the play and ship era, or the play and ship just to show people you can do something with Gen AI era of the great commoditization of AI. And it was really all about play and learn. And many of those pilots, many of those products have died out since then. 2024 was what I call the getting back to business phase of the great commoditization of AI. As you probably noticed, the sugar high of 23 wore off, and most companies and CEOs sobered up, put down the shiny object, and got back to basics. Those basics being the same business goals, objectives, and opportunities that boards and CEOs have focused on for decades. And this is why I call the next 2 years the mass adoption era of artificial intelligence. And I know we have a lot of startups with us today. For those of you in the startup space, right now is the time to scale adoption. If you wait a year or two, it will be too late. It's important to note that in this, the mass adoption phase of the great commoditization of AI, things are no longer happening just because they're novel or cool, even though, of course, I think AI is pretty cool, but because of real business incentives. And I'm sure most of you have seen this statistic by now that shows that nearly 80% of travelers want to use artificial intelligence in the trip planning process. Now, let us zoom in on Agentic AI itself. I want to begin by stating the obvious. For us to make meaningful progress as an industry, we need to be more precise and thoughtful than we were in the past. Terms like Agentic AI must actually mean something more than just buzz terms we throw around, but something of actual substance. Thus, we need to begin by identifying a lowest common denominator definition for Agentic AI. And it seems to me that the most basic element of this definition of Agentic AI is a system where multiple agents are working together to accomplish an overarching task or goal to qualify as an agentic system. Otherwise, the AI system is not agentic, but rather it is a machine learning or a Gen AI system, and there's nothing wrong with those systems. It's simply not an agentic AI system. So to begin, agentic systems must have multiple agents operating individually at once to qualify as agentic. Otherwise, it's just an algorithm, and algorithms are great. There are two competing visions for what the agentic era of AI will look like: the super assistant model and the AI swarm model. To cut to the chase, at this point, it seems very likely that the AI swarm will win. So first, what is an AI swarm? An AI swarm is a constellation of bots working together to accomplish one overarching task, bringing together multiple skill sets and knowledge bases to accomplish something that would be much harder for any single bot to do on its own. And we've already seen this with people. As we know, when you bring together diverse groups of people with unique sets of experiences and knowledge, we get superior results. So will be the case with artificial intelligence. Now, why I say swarm will win and why it's beneficial for our industry has three core reasons. First, the swarm has a much lower bar to entry into getting started, meaning you can deploy whatever part of the swarm is working effectively today and begin to get value out of that without waiting to build the entire future vision, which would be required with one super agent. Second, they are cheaper to build and faster to iterate and improve. And third, they're inherently collaborative. Our industry is already inherently collaborative. We work together with companies from across the world to bring together trips and experiences for our travelers. This means that we can build on what we already do as an industry so effectively and to deploy AI swarms together, taking the best pieces from each of our partners and put them together into one swarm that can bring a lot of value to all of us. Looking at an example of a swarm, this is just one example of a travel concierge that could live on a person's phone or on a hotel website or as an assistant to a human travel advisor. This AI agent swarm, which we can think of as a travel concierge, would benefit from an expert in me bot, an AI agent that understands the traveler's desires, a destination research and analysis bot to research and learn about the places I should consider going, an accommodation search and booking bot that was trained on relevant industry data to identify the best options for me, a payment and smart wallet bot that has secure access to my credit card or bank account, a transportation-focused bot that can search, book, and string together multiple transportation options to optimize my trip, working together with a third-party weather prediction bot to reduce the probability of trip disruption. An itinerary builder bot, which may be a small swarm of its own, including recommendation bots, logistics manager bots, personal scheduler bots, and maybe we also utilize a legal docs and cross-border bot that studies all the visa requirements for the places I'm visiting. And perhaps this initial swarm would actually benefit from utilizing a social media digest bot that can get recommendations from my friends or from their social bots on where I should eat in that city, and partner with a sustainability analysis bot to help reduce the logistics and reduce my carbon footprint. And maybe this is an important business trip, and you also need access to a cultural attaché bot to impress your foreign hosts. And I can go on and on and on. Training one super agent that could do all of these things as of now is simply not possible. But training each one of these micro agents on its own is not that hard, and it's already happening today. And if we string them into a swarm, as you can see from this example, we can build AIs that can accomplish incredibly complex things on our behalf. Similarly, we could build an AI swarm that acts as an AI tour guide or an AI tour operator. This tour operator swarm will combine what it learns from a traveler's AI travel assistant, what we just saw in the last slide, along with the AI assistants of all the other guests in the group, plus its own tour AI brain and historical records to create a truly unique offering for every single day. It could also benefit from a weather prediction and traffic prediction bot to ensure that we don't get rained on or waste too much time in traffic, along with many other bots like a news digester bot to identify relevant current events that may be relevant to our tour, a social signal collection bot that knows the best new selfie spots or what movies to reference as we walk around town, etc., etc. This swarm, which among other things acts like a connected trip ecosystem, will push the tour sector into the modern era and provide better experiences for travelers around the world. Another important thing that I'm paying close attention to is business moats and sustainable advantages, and specifically how the coming great commoditization of AI is changing the power dynamics in our sector and across the global economy. There are several moats that are becoming more important and more prominent, and some moats that I believe are losing their power. So the incoming moats include things like access to differentiated data and access to rare inventory, things like speed and agility of a founder or a company, as well as deep vertical data and expertise. Some of the moats that have been really powerful over the last couple decades that are losing steam include access to commoditized inventory, access to broad generic data, horizontal data that now can come from the LLMs, size of your dev team, your historical code base, the quality of your UI, all these things are losing power. So I encourage all of you, both at very large companies as well as our startups in the audience, to really think about the changing power dynamics in the business world and how you can set your company up for success for decades to come. All right, now I want to zoom into the world of travel and hospitality. I want to share a few things that I'm paying close attention to and that I'm really excited about. Up first, we have dynamic products. One thing I've been thinking and writing about for quite some time is a concept I call dynamic products. For decades, our industry has sold dynamic packages that in reality were not very dynamic. With AI and other innovations across our space, we can do a lot better. My vision for a future of dynamic products is built on three core elements or innovations that we've brought to the economy over the last decade. First are new types of hard product in our industry. My favorite example is always the Lufthansa business class that has 14 seats, but 6 different configurations, providing a lot of versatility and a lot of options to create different types of experiences on the same airplane. Over the last 20 years, Marriott went from under 10 hotel brands to over 35. And we've seen the lifestyleification of brands explode with many more options and a lot more diversity for people to choose between. And then, of course, we've seen the explosion in wellness options, in luxury options, in food and dining experiences, and so much new types of hard products have been created. The second key innovation is dropship capabilities. Things like DoorDash, Uber Eats, and Amazon Prime give us the ability to have a specific product arrive in a specific place at a specific time to enhance an experience or a journey a traveler is having. And lastly, of course, is AI-powered storytelling. Things like Sora, ChatGPT, and all the other tools that have come out to enable us to create truly dynamic stories in real time. So piecing these together, we can take new types of hard product, drop ship things along the way for our travelers, and to create those into real narratives in a way that creates an entire new type of offering that I believe creates a win-win-win outcome. Better experiences for travelers, better margin for travel sellers, and a spread of the value of tourism to many more places and many more businesses around the world. Remember, everything we sell in travel is a perceived value good. There's no hard value for your next trip to Italy. It's whatever you believe the value is based on where you are in your life and the offering being made available to you. And thus, we can use dynamic product capabilities to increase the value that we are providing our travelers, while at the same time increasing the margin and profitability for those of us providing the travel services, and increase that margin by significantly more than the increased hard cost of delivering a dynamic product. Let me give you a concrete example. I've got a daughter and she's really into princesses. So let's say we want to take a princess-inspired trip to Europe. If we had bought a trip put together dynamically, as I'm suggesting, the van would come pick us up here at the house, and it would start by having a MP4 video loaded on the TV about the type of princess experience we're going to have when we get there on the ground. And then we can fly in Lufthansa and have the right set of 4 seats selected for us, not just next to each other, but the new pod they have so family can sit together, eat together, and watch TV together. Once we get to Europe, we can have the right hotel selected for us from the huge proliferation in brands and offerings available through lodging. And when we get to the room, there could be princess toys waiting in the bed or princess toys waiting in the bathtub to enhance my daughter's experience. I think you see where I'm going. Every single element of the trip can be enhanced through selecting the right hard product, dropping things along the way to enhance the product, and wrapping that all in a narrative. And by doing so, we increase the value of the trip to me, and through that, increase the value of the trip to our industry. It's a really exciting future that I think is very near. And the dynamic future of our industry continues. We're talking about dynamic walk-in tours, attraction guides, products, prices, amenities, and bundles. This is the future I think we should all be very excited about. Next is sustainability. As an industry, most of us care deeply for sustainability. And even better, many of our travelers do too. And AI has arrived for sustainability, and there are so many ways to use AI to further our sustainability goals. At Virtuoso's first Impact Summit this past summer, we saw so many examples of AI and technology doing good in the world already. We saw innovators from across our industry using AI to monitor and reduce food waste, creating a win-win-win outcome where we reduce food waste, have better food available for guests, and provide cost savings to the businesses. We saw AI used in conservation tracking and wildlife monitoring. We saw computer vision powered smart alerts to alert officials when there's poaching activity in the wilderness. And we've seen an endless number of examples of using AI to conserve energy and to protect our climate. And finally, one of my favorite ways to utilize AI in sustainability is through truly dynamic and personalized storytelling. Using AI, in this case, generative AI, we can tell new stories and create new ways of connecting at scale. I'll give just 2 quick examples. First, as we all know, sustainability is an effort of the head and the heart. And people absorb information in different ways. So using AI, we can begin to tell the story of the impacts, both negative and positive, our industry has on the environment. And by telling stories in personal ways, get more travelers on board with making sustainable choices for their next trip. Another example is over tourism. The core reason over-tourism exists is because so many of us have the same dreams and stories in our minds going around the world. It's why we all dream of going to Venice for the beautiful sunset. But as I like to say, there are beautiful sunsets in many places around the world, as well as romance and delicious red wine and even canals. Using generative AI, we can tell new stories that create the same win-win-win outcome I keep referencing. Better, more personalized trips for travelers, a reduced impact on the environment from over-tourism, and the spread of the benefit of economic activity to many more places around the world who are dying for those economic dollars and economic activity. Another key trend to watch is robotics, or as I say, robots are coming to a hotel near you and soon. As of today, humanoid robots are just for hype and for storytelling. The robots we will soon see deployed in hotels and cruise ships and elsewhere are small functional robots on wheels or tracks. And this is a big win for all of us. By deploying robots, we can provide better service and more personalization across the economic ladder and empower the team, the people who work in our industry, to leave the desk and to become hospitality workers again, instead of being shackled as clerks and information processors. And the connected trip is back, and it will be powered by Agentic AI. One company doing something really cool in this space is Built Rewards, which is one of America's fastest growing fintechs. And they have showed us how you can use Agentic AI to essentially build a connected trip where AI agents are following the user around, collecting relevant information on the traveler, and sharing that information proactively with the next hotel, with the next restaurant, with the next provider of travel experiences. I got a bit pessimistic over the last few years about our ability to achieve the connected trip. And I'm happy to say I found my optimism again through Agentic's AI ability to follow us, to collect relevant data, and to share it with the right people at the right time to create magic experiences for the traveler. One more theme I'm paying close attention to is innovation in the places travelers book their trips. Supercharged by AI and often focused on what I call the homeless 9% of travelers in our industry, this entire new ecosystem of upstarts is launching in front of our very eyes. We're seeing the rise of micro and niche OTAs focusing on specific types of travelers or specific destinations, along with the rise of member-based travel clubs, building travel offerings around a trusted community or a trusted leader. And of course, the oldest of these three is the AI native travel agency that combines AI with human advisors to provide an elevated experience that brings the best of both worlds to consumer. This is another place we should pay attention to, because at the end of the day, these innovations are all pro-consumer and pro-traveler, which is what we're all hoping to use AI to benefit not just our industry, but the travelers who enjoy it every single day. Let's spend just 1 minute talking about the AI giants. One thing we all know, AI companies all love travel. Just read their white papers. And as of now, they seem to also really love aggregators. And look at how well represented our industry is. On the screen here at OpenAI's announcement a few weeks ago, we see OpenTable, Expedia, TripAdvisor, Uber, and so many other companies from our industry making up a majority of these first applications and integrations announced by OpenAI. There's a lot to learn here and a lot to unpack. But one thing I want to underline is that this is further proof of my point that our industry is the most aspirational and desired category by consumers around the world, which is why the horizontalization of travel that I've been writing about shows absolutely no sign of slowdown on the horizon. And this brings me to the great debate, or one of the great debates dominating our industry. A few weeks back, I was fortunate and honored to moderate what we called the Great Distribution Debate at the Arrival event in Washington, D.C. We had some amazing debaters on stage, and you can see a summary of their points in the QR code below. But for today, we're focused on the many ways AI is impacting our industry. And I want to highlight just a few of the key points made by these brilliant debaters. First, we had team No Middle, Just Magic. This was a direct and operator team. They had 3 key points about why they believe AI will benefit direct suppliers. First is that AI models require authentic and accurate data. And the operators themselves, the ones who own and operate the inventory, are the single best source of truth in our industry. The second point is that AI is changing consumer behaviors and habits. And this shift will likely break the stranglehold that SEO has had on our industry for the last 20 years. And third is the point that there's enormous economic incentive, up to 30% of their revenues, for these direct operators to figure out new ways to do distribution, giving them a lot of money to experiment and to test with, and a lot of incentive to find a new way in this AR era. But of course, Team Booked and Boosted, the OTA and reseller team, had some equally powerful points to make about why they think their side will be the greatest beneficiary of artificial intelligence. First, they talked about scale and discoverability. And this point makes a lot of sense. If you think of the large AI labs, do you think they prefer to integrate with thousands of hotels or tour operators individually? Or would they rather integrate with an OTA that can bring all of those things at once? Second, we heard a lot about the fact that the OTAs have historically been much better at adopting technology and at using it to scale their business further. And third, trust and customer service is really hard, and the OTA scale provides a lot of benefits to consumers and to the AI models when it comes to servicing consumers, to providing insurance and recourse when things don't work right. So this is a debate I'm paying close attention to, and I think we all should, as over the coming years, there'll be a lot more information about what the consumer chooses and who they ultimately award their dollars to. Now, I'm sure I've already run out of time, but there's a few more things I think you should consider in this coming era of the great commoditization of AI. First, the art and science of marketing is quickly changing, and innovation on this front is critical. No matter where you sit in our industry's value chain, we all must reimagine the way we market, acquire leads, and tell stories in this new era of sales and marketing. Beyond marketing, the entire digital discovery and distribution journey is changing. In an essay I recently published, I identified at least 5 possible futures for where travelers will discover and book travel products in the future. Those include the AI giants. Some of us believe that they'll go to OpenAI or Perplexity to book a trip or to rent a car. Next is industry incumbents. Marriott, Expedia, all those guys have many smart people working on their teams, and they're trying to figure out how to win this AI era. Third is the personal assistants and personal AIs on our phones, which will likely have the most access to data and information about us, giving them a real chance to be a winner in this race. Of course, as a VC investor, I am betting on the startups and hoping that some of these amazing new innovators will figure out how to win the future of e-commerce in our industry. And of course, option number 5 is all the stuff we haven't come up with yet. Agent-to-agent commerce and amazing other ideas that are beginning to percolate. These are all things we have to pay attention to because the distribution landscape of our industry is changing. Another important thing to remember is that UI and UX used to be great moats and competitive advantages within our industry. But the reality is, moving forward, UI will not serve as a moat for at least 2 primary reasons. First, no matter how great your user experience, user interface is, AI no-code developers can copy that in an instant. Thus, whatever advantage you gain by developing the better new UI will be very short-lived. Second is dynamic UI is the future. Some people like to understand things and think about them through maps. Some like itineraries and schedules. Others like narratives. And there's no right or wrong way for a consumer to engage with our content. So the future is a future where data matters more than user interface. The right strategy moving forward is to try to figure out where the traveler is in the travel life cycle, who they are, and how they personally like to absorb information, and to use AI to create dynamic UIs that change in real time for every session and every traveler, depending on who they are, what they like, and where they are in their travel life cycle. Another major shift in the business strategy driven by AI is the build versus buy decision. For most of the past 25 years, the build versus buy decision faced by technology buyers was a pretty easy one. The quality and time to value of the buy, or the license option more accurately, was always going to be better than the quality and time to value of building your own technology solution inside a vast majority of businesses across our industry. Combine these together, horizontal platforms had a price, time to value, and data advantage, which is why horizontal outside providers won most of the technology races in our industry over the past decades. But in a world of AI-generated code and ubiquitous horizontal data, it seems to me that the scales may be shifting in the direction of the build. One more analogy to illustrate this. I like to talk about the build versus buy of a house paradigm. At the end of the day, we all prefer to build our own house, a dream house with all the features and needs and wants that we've always been dreaming about. But the reality is, we all know that building a house is typically more expensive, takes more time, and requires a lot more effort than just buying an existing house on the market. Well, if I could tell you that all three of these things were changing, if it wasn't going to be more expensive to build your house, it was not going to take any longer, it would not require any more effort, wouldn't we all build our next house? I've been asked a lot recently about the hype cycle we're in, and my answer is always the same. Artificial intelligence is not overhyped. Frankly, it may actually be underhyped in the long term. However, there are an endless number of AI companies, startups, and tools that are way overhyped and probably overvalued. And thus, my advice to founders is simple. In a market of endless hype, it is not the product demo or the pitch that will resonate most, but rather credible signs of actual ROI creation for your clients that matter. So my advice, create an entire library of case studies, measure critically, and help your prospective clients see the specific ROI that they will receive, rather than using hyperbole and talking about the quality of your product or the advancement of your AI. It is the ROI metric that matter most in a market that is full of hype. Now, when it comes to AI, people are the hardest part. We've heard leaders from across the economy making these points. There's three pieces of advice that I have for leaders that are trying to push AI adoption within their businesses. First is focus on culture of innovation. Hold out early adopters as heroes in your company meetings or emails. Let the rest of the team know that this is the type of behavior we're looking for here. People are willing to test and to iterate and to be early adopters of this technology. And ensure that your incentive structure does not create more incentive to not test with AI by punishing people more than we reward them for taking a risk. Next, top-down directives and requirements are often necessary. The reality is most people do not want to change the way they work without being incentivized or forced to by management. Don't wait for them to adopt AI. Help them and maybe even force them to do it faster. And of course, lastly, we all have to keep our AI tools open all day. AI is not something that you should be doing for 30 minutes at the beginning or the end of your day, but something you should be slowly integrating into every aspect of your life and your work. Lastly, I've talked about these mental models a lot over the last year, and I still think that they're really relevant. But the one I want to highlight today and to finish with is the point in the world of omnipresent AI, a human connection is the best differentiator. So as you adopt AI and as we deploy it across our industry and across the world, we should continue to ask ourselves, where does the human connection make the biggest difference? And where can we use that to supercharge our business prospects with our clients into the future? Remember, never stop testing, learning, iterating, and collaborating. This is how we push our industry into the future. The winners of the last historical epoch, the mobile revolution, were not the first companies to launch mobile apps, but the ones who committed to a decade of test and learn. And that will be the truth again here with artificial intelligence. So thank you for engaging with these important topics, and thank you for being with us all day today. Together, let's leapfrog for the sake of our industry and to benefit travelers around the world. Thank you.